Hi everyone. So it's been a little while since I actually came to you with an update of what's been going on in my sewing room. So today I'm here with a little bit of everything. I've got a completed make to show you. I thought I would have a little chat with you about where I'm up to on my current and longest standing whip. Not because it's finished, because it's still a whip, but because it's been going on for so long and it's made me really reflect on how I've changed as a sewist. And I thought you might find that interesting. And then I wanted to talk to you about my plans for maybe the next 3, 4 weeks, something like that. And I could really do with your help because I'm doing a collaboration with the lovely Mandy from Make It Sew. And I'd really like your help in letting me know which fabric you think I should sew the garment up in. So that's all coming down the line. So if that interests you, please stick around. So let's get straight into it with looking at my make that I managed to complete in January for Finish That Whip, um, which was the challenge set on Instagram by One Lisa Show. So I will link her channel down below. And this wasn't a really, really long standing whip, but it had been going on since August 2025. And these were the Quadra Jeans. So here is the finished set of jeans, which I made for my hubby, and I have mentioned them briefly as I was making them up during Vlogmas. But they are now completed, and I will put in a picture of hubby wearing them. He has been wearing them, they've been through the wash, and I thought, well, if I swipe them, I can show you the detail, and then he can do a bit of prancing around or modelling, whatever he decides he's going to do when I put a camera on him. So we'll see. So the Quadra jeans are by Thread Theory, and Thread Theory do certainly two. I don't know if they've released any more since. Sets of men's jeans. There's the Fulford jeans, which are quite high waist and quite a relaxed fit, and there's the Quadra jeans, which is these, which are a kind of mid-rise jean. So I think it's quite useful because there is a blog which actually is also a written sew along, which takes you through all the steps. There is also video, but I just looked at the blog. But the first part of the blog of the sew along talks about the difference between the two pairs of jeans. So if you're making these for someone else, and you haven't actually already bought a pattern, it might be worth giving them a chance to have a read through and see which style they like better, because then you've got a better chance of knowing that you're going to do something you like. And actually that's what I did with hubby pretty much, and he said he wanted the Quadras. So these are in a stretchy fabric, and I got this denim from Dalston Mill in a basically it was a denim fabric bundle, which was really good value, and they still do them, so I'll link them down below. And what I thought I would do is, if I made them up in this denim, which I think actually isn't bad quality, then if he wanted another pair, we could always invest a bit more in some more denim, and he does want another pair. um, I think these went together fine. My only fear is that if they are too stretchy, they might bag out a bit. So what did I think of the pattern? I actually really enjoyed making these, and the only reason that they dragged out so long was really because I was busy doing things like the Busy Bee Challenge in the autumn. And also when I did Vlogmas, I did things like the overlocker tip. So I wasn't sewing on the jeans as much as I might have been. Um, but I do really like them. They've got flat felt seams, which I'd never done before. So I did those. They've got pretty good instructions on the fly, although I think my preference, had I realised I could have done the Stitch Sisters method, would still be to do the Stitch Sisters method, which is based around actually just putting the fly zip in while you've not got the backs on the jeans at all. And I still think that's easier. So I'll link their video down below as to how they do that. I think they saw it on TikTok first. But this was fine. My only two quibbles with the pattern were, number one, they get you to cut out two fly shields, and then they say, with the pattern layout, and then they say you don't need one of them, so just discard this one. So I could have saved myself the hassle and not bothered, but I guess that's on me because I didn't read the pattern through thoroughly. And then the only other problem I had in terms of the pattern was in the instructions when it came to sewing the zip in, and it tells you to keep the let's get this right, it tells you to keep the fly extension out of the way when you're sewing the zipping, because obviously you don't, the other half of the zip, because obviously you don't want to sew it to itself, otherwise you won't be able to open it. But what it should also have said, and didn't really, was that you need to avoid sewing it to the front. So you can probably see just there, I sewed it to the front. Then I looked at the blog post, and it said, make sure that there's no other fabric in the way. Now, actually, you can also see, I mean, it's nearly come out with the wash anyway. It was a bit wonky. So I unpicked it really for aesthetic reasons. But I have to say, it's a good job because it was wrong. So that was the only real challenge I had with following the pattern. Other than that, it was absolutely fine. The only things I did differently were, I think the top stitching on the pockets, it's meant to be, I think, tapered in on the Quadra Jeans, whereas on the Fulford it's more like this. But neither Steve nor I liked it, so I'll try and put a picture of that in. And I stick to the conventional distance between them. And when you're inserting the pockets, and I think I might have mentioned this before, the pattern instructions suggest that you put the right side of your pocket linings facing, so that when you are putting the jeans, taking the jeans on and off, you've got the right side of the fabric facing you. But neither Steve nor I could see the point of that, because it meant that if you got a flash of pocket, you get a flash of wrong side of fabric, and who wants that? So I deliberately put them in the other way round. They're finished off really nicely. They've got rivets, so hopefully you can see that. I have a bad feeling I might have put them in the wrong way round, because that side, if you can see, is kind of lumpy, and I think that might be meant to be the rivet. But I was kind of struggling a bit because my Prim hole punch eyelet maker, I couldn't get it through the denim, and I got my husband and he couldn't get it through the denim either. But fortunately he's got a kind of more heavy duty one, which he's used in the past for punching holes through leather, so I got him to use that, and then we were fine, it worked. So by that time I didn't really care which way the rivets should go, so they may or may not be the right way round, but they are at least consistent. Lots of top stitching. Now, in terms of the top stitching, you might remember me saying when I was making my Riley overalls that I was struggling with my machine on top stitching. And when I started the jeans, I was having the same problem. And then I did some reading of various blogs about sorting out top stitching tension. And I worked out that I think I needed to turn the tension of the needle down much, much further than I actually thought I needed to. And so I tried that. I really cranked the needle tension down and it worked much better. So for the most part, the stitching is actually done in top stitching thread. The only bit, it's not the only bit that I didn't do in top stitching thread, but the main bit was the stitching, the dual bits of top stitching around the fly. So you might be able to see You see that? So this bit is top stitched in top stitching thread. These aren't. These are just stitched in normal Gutterman thread. But I did go over them twice to try and make them look a bit thicker. And I didn't do the buttonhole in top stitching thread either, because I've learnt from experience it doesn't like, my machine doesn't like it. And I have no idea why, but even on a lower needle tension, my machine did not want to sew um, this decorative top stitching with the top stitching thread. So in the end, I decided not to force it. But on all the belt loops and everything, it worked fine. But I did attach them with normal thread because there's a lot of layers to go through there. But you can't, if I hold that right up, you can't really see the difference between the normal thread and the top stitching thread, I don't think. The other thing I did do, and you might have caught glimpses of this as I've been showing you, and in fact I might need to redo this at some point, is where we've got the belt loops, I've added a bit of interfacing on this side just over the stitching to try and stabilize it a bit. Maybe I should have put the interfacing on first actually, but I've learnt from experience that Steve's belt loops, and also where he puts his phone in his back jeans pocket, tends to get ripped really quickly. So again, I've put some stabilizer in the hope that that will just give the fabric a bit more rigidity and it won't just start tearing. One of the things that I've been doing, and this is part of what I'll talk to you about when I talk about sewing overwhelm, is trying to get things out of my sewing room that have no business being there. So part of that is getting the whips finished. But the other thing is that I had a stack of mending and I mended about 7 pairs of jeans. And if you want to see how I did it, let me know and I'll show you. But all his were where either the belt loop had gone or where there were holes where the back pockets had started to come away. So because I know that they get a fair amount of hammer by him, I thought I'm just going to interface them now and we'll see if that helps. But yes, satisfying make. Took longer than it should have done because I managed to yank the zipper off the zip when I was talking to you all about it in Vlogmas, and I had to redo it. He chose the label in my defence, so if offensive labels bother you, please look away now. Hopefully that is in shot. There you go. So in my defence, he chose the label. In his defence, it was already in my stash. Okay, you can look back now. So that was the jeans, and hopefully you will have seen some footage of him in it. Would I make them again? Yes, and I think it's quite likely that I will. He does like them. They fit great, I think. Let me know when you see the footage. So that was my completed make. And now I will come on and show you what I'm actually working on at the moment. So this, which I have spoken about a million times on this channel, is the Tilda shirt dress by Atelier Jupe. And for those of you who haven't subscribed or watched me for long, I started this make for an engagement party in June 2022. And the engagement party was supposed to be in the July, and I cut it out. And later that week, my dad had a fall, ended up in hospital, and sadly we lost him. And I came home 7.5 weeks later, by which time the engagement party had taken place and the dress was still in bits on my cutting table. And then I just didn't feel like making it, and it sat there and it sat there. And part of the reason maybe was because I kind of associated it with being sad, but actually some of it was because it's made in viscose chalet lawn and I was finding it really hard to sew. And the bit that I was really struggling with when I did get round to starting it was I'm doing visible button plackets because I've got really, really lovely buttons from Pigeon Wishes to go on it. So on the button plackets, what you're meant to do is you sew the placket to the fronts of the dress, and you've then folded over the non-attached seam, long seam on the placket by 1 centimetre, and then you fold it over again on the inside, and then you're meant to stitch in the ditch down there where you've joined and catch down the back of the button placket. And I got in a real mess with this, and so I'd started unpicking it, and I ended up just leaving it, and it must have sat there for probably about a year, 18 months. And then, as part of my I need to sort my sewing overwhelm, I thought, no, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to get it out of the way, because otherwise it's going to sit there and sit there and sit there, and I'm not going to do it. And also, in the meantime, I had sewn the Marilla Walker Nautilus top in the same substrate, also from this is a Lady McElroy fabric. Some of you might recognise it from many moons ago. But I'd sewn the Marilla Walker top that I made is in exactly the same substrate, and I'd cope fine. So I thought, right, now I know what I need to do, I should be fine. So what I did, and this is what I mean about it's made me think how much I've changed since, even in the last 18 months since I first tried to sew this. I've got my straight stitch needle plate on instead of my normal one, which allows zigzag stitch, so that controls the fabric much better. I've got my big AccuFeed foot on, so it's a bit like a walking foot, so it's got feed dogs on the top and the bottom, so it makes the fabric go through much more evenly. So, and I've also got Best Press, which is a little bit like starch, but it seems more fabric friendly than starch is, so it doesn't stain fabric, and it acts like starch, so that it makes your fabric a little bit more cooperative when you're sewing. So all those three things mean that I'm more confident about actually doing the sewing. And the other thing that I did, because I started doing this again earlier in the week, is I thought, well, I'm not going to worry about trying to stitch in the ditch, because I'd wobbled, and that's why I was unpicking it. And I thought, I'm not even going to worry about trying to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edge stitch it. So hopefully you can see that that is what I did. I just edge stitched it down, and it looks perfectly neat and perfectly fine. And the other thing I did was that I discovered that even though I'd measured it all beautifully, there were a couple of places, well, actually, it was just one big place where I didn't catch it down properly on the back. It just, the fabric had shifted, or I just hadn't quite measured it right. And so old Laura would have just unpicked that at the each end, and the bit that was going along the main piece of the fabric, but with no caught down section of the placket behind it, unpicked it all, tied it off, and redone it. New Laura thought, no, I'm just going to slip stitch it in place. So that's what I did. So I used the stitches that were on the main bit of the fabric and just caught down the placket at the edge really neatly in slip stitch, so that nobody can see it from the inside, and it's absolutely fine, and job done, no problem. So I have done the first side of the front. I'd already got the darts in, so the darts are in, you can see, and I am part way through sewing up, well, pinning actually, and pressing in place, because I took all that out, the other placket, so you can see a bit more what I mean there. So there's where, hopefully you can see that, there's where the placket is joined on there, and then This is pressed over by an inch and then folded over, sorry, an inch, a centimetre, and then folded over again. And the idea is to hide that stitching. So I shall do the same again. I will edge stitch it, and if anything goes wrong, slip stitch is my friend. And that way I might actually get done. And I think once I've done these bits, it should be fine. There's a back yoke with a burrito, which I've done before, so all good. The other thing I decided to do, whether I'll do this consistently all the way through, was that I was going to do French seams because the fabric is so sheer. So when I picked this up, I had started doing my French seam. So I'd sewn these bits right side together, but I hadn't as yet done the wrong sides together piece, but I now have. So that is all now in place and slightly messy on the ironing, but hopefully it's okay. So I've done all that on both sleeves. So next job is to finish this bit of the button placket, and then it's time to construct the rest of the garment. The only thing I will say is that I am slightly worried it won't fit me, because I suspect in 2022 I was a little bit slimmer than I maybe am now. And although I am better toned than I was maybe 10 months ago, because I do weights, I am not sure that I have necessarily lost that many inches, and I am a little bit worried. So we shall see. But what I will do is I will get it to a point where I can try it on, and I'll probably base the side seams and see how it is. Now the side seams are 1.5 centimeters, so I can always take a narrower side seam if I need to. So we will see, and I might be being a little bit paranoid because it is designed with a fair amount of ease. But it's just that when I hold at one half of this, to me it just doesn't look all that wide. So I am stressing slightly. But when I looked at the garment measurements the other night, I should still fit in them. So I really don't know. But if it doesn't look as if it's going to fit, what I will probably do is see if anyone wants to take it from me and finish it. Because there's no point in the fabric going to waste. So yeah, so that's where I'm at with my whip. Okay, so hopefully I will get that finished in the next week maybe. So if you're enjoying this vlog so far, please do drop me a like and do leave me a comment and let me know what you think of the jeans. Let me know if you can recommend any other jeans patterns for men. What's on your sewing table at the moment? Are you making anything at the minute from which you are learning in the way that I am learning from my Tilda dress? We have got 2 French terries, which I got from A&M Fabrics in High Wycombe, who you might have heard Jess talk about quite a lot because she uses them quite a lot because they're local to her. That's Jess So What If I Sew. And they had an online sale, and their French terry was one of the things in it. And I have been looking for ages for some French terry that I could use to make a colour blocked sweatshirt. And one I want to make is this one, which I've had in my stash for ages and ages. And it's McCall's, what's the number? M7874. And I want to make this version here with the colour blocking. So I thought that these two would go really nicely together. So I need to be careful here because I do not want to clobber my mic, which is just there. So there you go. So you can see it's got this nice fleecy inside. It is quite fluffy at the moment, and I do worry a bit that it might go bobbly, but we will see. So I've got that as the main colour, and then to go with it I have got this as the contrast. So I bought slightly more of the pink than the blue, but I think they go really nicely together, and I think they are nice, bright, vibrant colours, um, which are quite. They'll be quite nice and transitional, because if I get this made and it's still cold in March, then great, I've got it to wear in March. But I'm going away on holiday, kind of late spring, and I think this would be quite nice just to pop on in the evenings as well. So yeah, that's the plan. I'd like to get this made up fairly quickly. As I say, it's sort of sewing my stash, in terms of the fact I've had the pattern for ages, but never really found the fabric before to make it up. So I'm quite keen to get on and make that. And I think hopefully I have got, what size have I got? I've got size Y, which goes up to a medium, which should be fine for me, because a medium is a 12 to 14, and if ever I'm going to be outside of 14, it would be on my hips, not my top half. So I should be fine. I think I can probably make a straight size medium. And I might just cheat and cut it out, because I don't think I'm ever going to be a size 8 to 10, and the medium's the largest size in this, so I might just cheat and not trace it. I have seen a review of this somewhere which mentions that although the pattern pieces are correct, the instructions are confusing about how the pieces kind of here go together. So I will just keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I just think this is such a fun pattern, and I'm really keen to get that made up. So that is probably going to go quite high up my make list. I'm not sure which neckline I'm going to do yet. I probably will stick with that one, actually. I quite fancy a higher neck, but I do get irritated, as I said on my Claudia vlog, with bobbles. So we'll see. So that is a firm plan with new fabric, and I'm really glad I put a colour catcher in with these, because the pink did try and run, and they do kind of look like they've fluffed onto each other. So, but I washed them together, because I thought they're going to be washed together when they're attached. So let's see. Okay, so last but by no means least, I wanted to show you a couple of other firm plans that I've got, apart from the sweatshirt that I've just shown you. So let me go and grab another pile of fabric, and I will be right back. So I've been and grabbed my pile of fabric, which is trying to fall off my knee. So the first one, which you could be forgiven for thinking is my collab with Mandy, because she has had this fabric, but it actually isn't, is I really want to make the Belemnite Dress from Marilla Walker, which is now a free pattern. And I am going to the Southern Social, so hello Southern Social ladies, I will see you in March. I am going to next month's meeting, which is the 1st of March. So my plan is probably to cut this out and the sweatshirt out and bring at least one of them with me, although whether I get that much sewing done, because I'm always chatting when I'm there, so we'll see. But that might be what I bring with me. So I'll put a picture of the Belemnite dress up here, but I just really like it, and I think it might be nice for my holidays. And the fabric I want to make it in, which if you watch Mandy make it sew, you will have seen before, because she has used it, is this, which is a Joanne fabric. Sorry, I've got other fabrics trying to escape. And it's this one with dragons on it. And she made her husband a shirt in this. I think that'll be great as a dress. And again, it's a bit of fun to wear on my cruise. So the cruise I'm going on doesn't have a formal night dress policy, which is great because it's a fly cruise, but you're not allowed to wear jeans in the evening. which means I need to make sure that I've got kind of, it's sort of smart casual, so a few dresses, a few pairs of trousers that aren't jeans, and I'll be fine. But yeah, jeans and a pretty top is not an option. So, but I think I get quite a lot of wear out of that over the summer, and I've got a ton of it. So I've definitely got enough to make a dress. So that is a firm plan. And if I do like the pattern as much as I think I'm going to, I've got other fabrics that I could then make that dress again in. So I think that would be really useful to do that in the dragon fabric. See how I get on, and then I can always do it again. Maybe do another one before I go, she says. I've always got sewing eyes bigger than my sewing machine, if that makes sense. So I'm on to the collaboration with the lovely Mandy from Make It Sew. And she said that she was going to make this pattern, which is the Avid Seamstress pattern, the blouse. And she and I have both got the freebie version that came with Simply Sewing. Only I don't know where she got hers from, whether she actually got the mag or whether she picked it up from a swaps table, but I got mine from a swaps table, I think. So this comes in sizes 6 to 22. So in terms of body measurement, on the bust, it goes up to size 22, but that's only bust 48. So it's not massively inclusive. Whether it goes up to more on the full pattern, I don't know, because I haven't checked that. But I will link to the fold line or the Avid Seamstress, one or the other, down below so you can see for yourself. But I think it's really quite a nice, hopefully fairly quick make, which might be why Mandy picked it. So it doesn't have darts. It's fairly straightforward. I mean, it's got a little tiny, just a round collar, and it's got 3/4 length elasticated sleeves. I quite like 3/4 length sleeves. So the recommended fabric is lightweight fabrics that have drape, such as cotton, lawn, or viscose. And it reckons you will need 2.2 meters of fabric of 112 centimeters wide, or 2 meters of 145 centimeter wide fabric. And I have been through my stash and I have pulled out some fabrics. So, and hopefully what I'll do is I'll put these on my community tab, and then you can go on and vote for which one you want to see me make this in. So option number one is, I should just say, what I'm working on the assumption that it talks about needing that amount of fabric. So for 145 centimeters wide, needing 2 meters of fabric, but it doesn't break it down any further than that for the relevant sizes. So if this is going up to a size 22 for the bust of 48 inches, I'm planning on making the size 12, having looked at the finished garment measurements, which is bust of 37. But the finished garment measurement is 40 inches. So I think that'll be all right. I think 3 inches is plenty. It doesn't look like the model's got it massively loose, so I think that will be fine. So I'm working on the basis. I'm probably not going to really struggle to get it out of 2 meters, and I might get it out of a bit less. So some of these fabrics, it might depend on whether or not I have got enough fabric, whether I can make it or not. So the first fabric is, now this is slightly less drapey because it is a shirting cotton. This came from Higgs and Higgs, and it is actually directional. So it goes that way. So this is really quite pretty. And I think the bright colours are fine on me. I'm less convinced these days about the white. So we will see, but it's probably fine. It's probably fine. And It would obviously come out looking a little bit more shirty if I made it in this. And let me just check Stash Hub and we will see how much I've got. So I've got 2 meters of this and it's 147 centimeters wide. So I should be fine. So that is a definite possibility. Okay, so this is option 1, the floral shirting. And I do think that because the pattern is so simple, really, and this is quite a busy pattern, unlike the pandas where you wouldn't want it broken up, you might actually want to break this up and make a sort of more traditional shirt with the buttons going down the front. And I think I could probably be forgiven for not pattern matching that because it is so busy. And I do still really like it. I've just never got around to making anything in it. So that is option number 1. So option number 2 has been in my stash for quite a while. I'm trying to see when I bought it. Yeah, since 2023, August 2023, so over 2 years. And it is a broderie anglais, and it's a poly cotton, so it's got a reasonable amount of drape. I was originally going to make the Maison Fauve free blouse pattern with this, but that has got pin tucks, and I do wonder a bit how pin tucks would come out with quite a thick broderie anglais, and I've never done pin tucks before, so maybe it's better to not do that. Anyway, I've got 2.5 meters of this, so it's plenty, and I might even have enough to do a kind of little top as well, if I make it out of this. And I was thinking that, you know, poly cotton, yeah, okay, not the most breathable of fabrics, but it's not the hottest time of the year either. So as a kind of wearable toile first attempt, that might be quite nice. And as you can see, I do like my bright green. I do like my bright green. So I think this one is a hot, if not breathable, contender. So that's that one. Option 3, I think, is the only one actually that it might depend how much fabric I really do ultimately need. So this is a dead stock viscose lawn. Now I had kind of earmarked this to make another pattern by the New Red called the Roxy Top. So again, that might be something that would look better on a garment without buttons down the front. But I do rather like it, and I have only got 1.67 meters of it. So it's 148 centimeters wide. So if I really don't need as much as 2 meters because I'm making a smaller size than the maximum size, that might be quite a good use of it. And I do love it. I do really love it. And I think it's really it would be a nice transitional colour. But you can see obviously that's going to be a bit more drapey. So for a blouse, that would be really spot on. So yeah, and I love the pink. I love the bright pink on it. So let me know what you think of that. This pattern I will have to trace because I have a feeling the bits, yes they do, they overlap. I think again it's because it's a free pattern, so it's a bit like tracing bird, or only hopefully not as bad. So I wouldn't know if I can make this until I've traced out all the pieces in my size and actually tried to fit them on the pattern piece. So on my community tab, I will label that accordingly. But I do like it. And it might be quite a good use of a quote unquote smaller piece of fabric. So that's that one. 2 more to go. If you followed me for a while, you will know that this is what I called last year, I think, maybe the year before. It's a space hog in my fabric stash. I've had it a long old time. and I have 2.5 meters of it, and it is a Lady McElroy, and it is this really popular Tokyo Nights design in the larger, kind of like the larger. I've probably got it upside down as you look at it. I have. It's the larger version of the design. You can also get it um, with the design in a smaller, over a smaller scale, but really drapey, really bright coloured, really quite funky. I've got 2.5 meters of it, so again, I should get it out of this easily. So again, it maybe is a candidate. It's maybe time to get it sewn up, because I don't hate the fabric, but I don't honestly know what to do with it. I think also because it's so vibrant and because it's definitely nightlife, I think I've never felt it was appropriate for work. But now I'm not working, and it might well be appropriate for holidays. So do let me know what you think. I will put this on my community tab because I don't use it enough, and it is a good way to interact with all of you. My voice is going, I've been talking too long. So those are my choices. Don't forget to go over and watch Mandy's vlog, which, like mine, is talking about the collaboration in the context of other things that she's going to chat about. So I will link her vlog down below, and then when we've both made our blouses, we will both record another vlog with a reveal. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already and you would like to do so, please do, and you can hit the little notification bell so that you can hear more from me as and when I upload. Let me know what you think of my choices and my fabric, and I will see you again very soon. Hopefully, I'm going to talk to you a bit about my overwhelm, and really I'm looking at the moment and been doing quite a lot of work on sorting my patterns out, so I'll probably pick that to chat to you about next. Hope you're all well and getting some sewing done, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.